DACA essentially acknowledges the investments that we've already made in young people in our state.
Well, my life was a little complicated without DACA.
Before DACA, I was kind of quiet and afraid. I didn't really want to speak about my status because I was afraid that someone would say something to someone that it would get around and I would get in trouble. I didn't want to put my life in jeopardy or my family. I
couldn't envision myself even after high school because throughout my life, right, public education has been free. And it doesn't require you to present a social security number and things like that, right, or proof your residency or citizenship, like your workplaces or in some instances higher education institutions, because every opportunity required you to have a social security number. So it was very painful. Just I couldn't work. I started working when I was 18 years old, and then after that I started organizing, and I still didn't have documentation or DACA at the time, so it was still a little difficult for me to even integrate myself in the job that I wanted.
Before DACA, I also couldn't work. I received DACA in 2012, my senior year of high school, but I wanted to work before so that I could save some money up for college, but I couldn't. And also, I always had a lot of sympathy for people of color or anything that had to do with activism, civil rights, but I couldn't be involved in it because I was afraid that there was a huge chance of me being deported.
DACA allows them to further their education and careers and make full use of their skills, increase their earnings, which will be spent in our local communities.
Over the next few months, eligible individuals who do not present a risk to national security or public safety will be able to request temporary relief from deportation proceedings and apply for work authorization.
When I first arrived here to Minnesota, I didn't speak a lot of English, and it was very hard for me to communicate. And I made it a goal to learn English relatively fast, and so I did. Language barriers are very, very tough for people. Even if you have an English or an accent, it can still be a little difficult for those to understand you.
When I grew up, I knew that I didn't belong here because my parents told me that we were undocumented, so I would always be more cautious than anybody else, and I observed most of the time rather than try to be a part of society. When I was in kindergarten, I wouldn't ask for help because my parents had told me not to try and get attention for myself because that could lead to negative consequences. However, I took that out of context and I believe that applied to everything, so I just wouldn't ask for help at all from any of my teachers because I didn't trust anyone.
So DACA is incredibly important for immigrants across the state. In total, about 16,000 young Minnesotans are eligible for relief from deportation and work permits through DACA. And this includes about 9,000 who are immediately eligible, about 3,000 who are eligible, save the education requirement that you be in school or have a high school education, and then about 5,000 who will be eligible as soon as they turn 15, which is currently a requirement of the program.
Right now, I study Sustainable Systems Management at the University of Minnesota. My bachelor's degree is my first step. My next step is my master's degree. So really, that is right now what I plan on doing on my educational goals.
Right now, I just received my associate's degree from North Hennepin Community College, and I'm going to my 4th year of college. I'm probably going to be going to Augsburg.
About 9,970 Minnesotans have already received DACA.
With DACA, I was able to to get jobs that I wouldn't been able to get without proper documentation. I started working at Apple in 2014. I received DACA when I was 19, and so a year later, I was hired at Apple. If I didn't have DACA, I wouldn't have been able to acquire such a job.
I have a steady job. It's a full-time job, and it has good benefits. I'm financially stable, and I can pay for my own college. I got my driver's license, and I opened up a bank account.
So first, it's important to understand that the state is facing both a tightening labor market and an upcoming labor shortage. Older U.S.-born Minnesotans are leaving the workforce or retiring at a much faster rate than younger U.S.-born Minnesota workers can fill their place. And so this means that Minnesota really can't afford to leave any qualified workers on the sidelines, and will increasingly rely on our state's immigrants to fill very important roles in our economy. We know that from DACA, recipients are able to access education opportunities that they would otherwise not be able to. They can often get jobs that better match their skills, and they're able to more reliably get to and from their work with access to driver's licenses. And this also means that it results in increased earnings for immigrants. The benefits of DACA provide about a 5 to 10% wage increase. This is good for our communities, which see increased economic activity, as well as it increases our state tax revenues. Currently, DACA recipients pay about $36 million in state and local taxes annually.
My name is Nestor Gomez Jimenez. I grew up in a small town in the Pacific coast of Mexico called Pericos, Nayarit.
My name is Francisco Lara Chavez. I was born in Mexico, in Guanajuato, and I came here when I was 4 years old.
Now, let's be clear. This is not amnesty. This is not immunity. This is not a path to citizenship. It's not a permanent fix. This is a temporary stopgap measure that lets us focus our resources wisely while giving a degree of relief and hope to talented, driven, patriotic young people.
An important message to get across is to really understand what you have right now in your life and what you can have with deferred action. There are more opportunities for you to excel, to grow. In some ways, DACA motivates you to even reach new goals, try to grasp them. And I would challenge those that have not yet applied for DACA to really seek out the help to obtain DACA, because it's a life-changing program.